Hi everybody and welcome to Teddy TV. On this episode today we're going to be looking at attacking another new venue. This one's called Bainside Lakes in Lincolnshire, but with a rod and line. It's cold, it's damp, it's windy, it's a typical autumnal day, but what better way to approach another new venue than with a rod and line? There's lots of key benefits of fishing a rod and line over, for example, a pole in these types of conditions. I've put myself in the corner of the lake because the wind is really whipping round in other parts. The water's quite clear, so I think a pole over the heads of the fish might present a few problems. And also it gives me the opportunity to search this whole area, this bay if you like, in this part of the lake. The plan of attack really is to fish sort of 2/3 of the way across of this bay area that I'm in, just fishing maggots over the top. I've also mixed up some Teddy Fisher ground bait as well. I've decided to go for a mixture of the feeder mix and the carp mix. So I've done 2/3 feeder and 1/3 carp. And you can see, I put together a lovely mix just here. Thinking behind that is I have actually got a feeder rod set up as well in case the wind really picks up and I can't control my waggler as I'd like, and I can chuck a little cage feeder out there also. But similarly, the consistency of the mix will allow me to ping little balls over the top of my float as well. If the wind gets really silly and I'm struggling to get my maggots where they need to be, little balls, little nuggets of ground bait over the top of the waggler can work fantastically well. So that's my thinking behind that. I've also got some Teddy Fisher 3mm carp pellets. Now when you look at our carp pellets, they're a little bit different to the norm. They're not fish meal pellets, they're mineral pellets. They're more akin to the sort of pellets you would feed to, you know, ornamental fish, your koi carp, etc. They don't float though, they sink. And the way I find the best way to use them is just soak them 1 or 2 minutes before you're ready to use them. I'm going to put some of them out into the open water as well. Now, I do believe in this lake there's a mixture of fish. There's a lot of big carp, 20 pound plus. I wouldn't fancy my chances landing one of them on the tackle that I'm going to run through in a second, but you never know. I've got a lot of lily pads down my right hand side. There's a big bay of pads over the other side as well. So I might be tempted to set up a pole short later on and just hide it behind the lily pads so as not to spook the fish in the clear water. But let me run you through the waggler that I'm fishing today. So I've got 2 sizes of waggler. They are Drennan Visi Wags. I've got a 3.5 gram for when the wind really picks up, and the one I've got on at the moment is a 2.5 gram, and I've just got a quick change adapter. So nice and simple that when I want to change my float over, I just pop it off and put the new one on. So they're loaded at the bottom with the main casting weight, and I've got a couple of stoppers just here. 2 number 1 weights again to further aid the casting. Nothing down the line. It's about 3.5–4 foot until you get to a little barrel swivel just here, and that acts as my bulk. That's going to take my bait down, and then the last hook length is 12 inches, so that last 12 inches is going to fall nice and slowly and hopefully catch the eye of the fish. Got a little telltale number 10 there as well, just to trim the float off. Simple rod, 11-foot pellet waggler rod, nice and soft though, so I can land everything. Simple fixed spool reel with 4 pound line, and the hook length is 3.5 pound or 0.14 with a size 16 Drennan carp maggot hook. So a really simple setup that I've got on the go today. As I mentioned, about 3/4 of the way, 2/3 of the way across, I'm going to be fishing into that open water, pinging maggots over and just seeing what comes along. And I might just set up the pole and have a little look by these lily pads later on. So let's get fishing, let's see how we go on another new venue, and hopefully give you some ideas of ground bait mixes and how to fish the waggler on these unknown venues. Okay, so we ran through the setup and we began the session. I've not gone quite as far out as I planned actually. I've sort of gone halfway across, about 18 metres or so. And pinging maggots over the top. But I've also put a couple of nuggets of that ground bait mix in that I was talking about, and we're getting a few bites, so it's been productive so far. I think as we build the swim, I imagine a few better fish will come in as well. There's a number of F1s in here, I believe, as well as those big carp that I mentioned, but I'm quite happy to just get bites and build the swim, similar to the last time we was on the bank, steady approach, and then see where we go, and then we can become more positive when the bites start picking up. So hopefully we'll get a few fish. Just get rid of that tangle and give you an idea where we're casting to. So we're on line with a tree. Important to sink the line in this wind, so just a sharp strike underneath, a couple of turns of the handle, and we're just in that sort of area there. Now the bites that I've had so far have been just as it settles on the bottom. I'm fishing about 3 inches over depth. What that means as well is that I can look for some line bites, because as that barrel swivel settles, and I've got that telltale number 10 dropper. There's a bite, missed it. As soon as that number 10's moved, the float just picks up slightly. Using a tree on the far bank as a marker. And again, autumn fishing, you don't have to get silly with the bait. There's a bite. Missed that one as well. Let's check the bait. Yeah, just 4 or 5 maggots. Change that one. Red maggot on the hook, single. And the wind's coming over my shoulder now, so it's actually making casting a lot easier, but it does swirl a little bit. So just around there. 4 or 5 maggots over the top. Perfect. That float's just settling nicely now. And what I'll do, every time I catch a fish, I'll put another thumbnail of ground bait over the top. Just a little marble sized ball. I can flick it out in the catapult pouch. And say I've had a couple of skimmers early doors, which is positive. Nice size as well, sort of 4 ounce. There's a bite. Just strike the line just to sink it. Well, I'm not in the sun here. It's a lot more comfortable than it is looking at the lake further up. It's very, very windy up there. There's a bite and a fish on. What have we got? Just set your time, whatever you're hooking. And that is a roach. You don't need many of them to get a nice bag. Disgorger needed. I was hungry. So, no, they are a lovely stamp, so we can keep catching them. We'll have a nice day's fishing. We're right on the spot now. A few maggots over the top. And bait's just touching the bottom now. You see, the great thing with that barrel swivel, you know, you can see when it's settled, and you know that you've got that last 12 inches dropping nice and slowly through the water over your feed. Now, what I envisage as well with this mixed fishery here, with so many different species and different types, I get the sense that it might go quiet when the bigger fish move in. There's a bite. I've got my drag set really lightly on my reel, just in case I do up one of these big carp that are in here. I don't want to break off. That's another nice roach. Okay, we've fished this Waggler then for about an hour and a half now, and we've had a bit of a mixed bag. We've had roach, perch, hybrids, skimmers, gudgeon, rudd, and a couple of F1s fish now, and it's been great. All relatively small fish though, apart from the F1s. They're about a pound or so a piece. Oh, that's a nice roach. I think I'll net that. I'm now itching though to get a bonus fish. I think feeding those maggots, I've had a few pellets as well and little nuggets of ground bait, has been very good. But I'm tempted to go down this inside near these lily pads, just as the light starts to fade, to see if we can get ourselves a bit of a bonus, a carp or tench or something like that. So I think I'll have a couple more chucks on this, and then we'll get the pole out. Just one rig, nice and simple, and see if we can't snare ourselves something a bit bigger. But it's a lovely water, it really is, and this is a great way of fishing on such a windy, blustery day. It's not something I get to do enough. Nice F1. Beautiful. Okay, so we've come to the end of the session today, and it's been a really interesting day. It's been windy, it's been blowing a gale, my camera's got wet, the microphone went off, so hopefully you can hear this summary piece. We started in the Waggler, sort of 3/4 away across. I came a bit closer in actually. I've been up and down, a couple of inches on the bottom, then come off the bottom to keep in touch with the fish, but it's been pretty straightforward stuff. A few maggots over the top, little nugget of crumb after every single fish. I did have a look down at this margin to the right hand side. I put the pole together to have a look, but I just got bitted out in the end. So I've continued doing what pretty much the same all day, what's been working. And there's been hybrids, skimmers, roach, F1s, gudgeon, rudd, perch. So the great thing about the Waggler today has been that every time I've had a bite, you just don't know what it's going to be. We'll have a couple more chucks, and then I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up and take a little picture of our catch today. Okay, so the fruits of our labour today. Hopefully I've given you a few good ideas how to fish the Waggler on an autumn day. Nice and simple, a couple of pints of maggots, bag of ground bait, maybe a few pellets as well. So we've had some nice F1s, some skimmers and some hybrids, and a nice little mixed bag on a cold, chilly, blustery day. Cheers for watching.